Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Chad Morgan, and it appears the rumors of Stephen Moffat's return to write for Doctor Who have been confirmed. Now, these reports come in direct contradiction to Stephen Moffat's own comments in the past saying he would never return to the show, and direct contradiction to recent statements of his saying that he is not returning to write for the future Doctor Who era, at least in reference to the upcoming Christmas 2024 special. So he's lying, or was lying at least, but these are official reports now that he is at least writing episode 3 of the upcoming season of Doctor Who. Now, what does this change? I don't believe it changes anything whatsoever, which is primarily why I never made a video on the rumors or the announcement of his return when they initially came out, because it doesn't change anything. This is still Disney Doctor Who. It still baffles me that people are still trying to deny Disney's influence on Doctor Who. You don't need to look for evidence of it being Disney Doctor Who beyond the evidence that Disney Plus is getting all the primetime release slots for the upcoming season of Doctor Who in America, whereas the BBC is getting midnight releases for Doctor Who, which is a terrible time slot where the viewership is going to crater even farther than it already has. Additionally, you don't need to look past Russell T Davies' own comments talking about how Disney had influence over the season and the writing of it. There is so much evidence that this is Disney Doctor Who, and Russell T Davies isn't much better with his comments about focusing on influencing society and being politically minded, specifically LGBTQIA+, and the letters go on from there, influence in the future of the show. With that type of leadership, Stephen Moffat could never make anything good, let alone worth watching. And as much as I love Stephen Moffat's era of Doctor Who, primarily the early run with Matt Smith in the role of the Doctor, his later era with Peter Capaldi was riddled with some of the same issues as the Chris Chibnall on RTD2 era, specifically politically driven storytelling and bad writing. Luckily, his later era was saved by a charismatic, dedicated, and talented actor who was a fan of the show, pushing and elevating terrible scripts above what they were in Peter Capaldi. The later eras did not benefit for someone as talented as Peter Capaldi, in the likes of Jodie Whittaker, Shudigawa, and even David Tennant too, to a certain extent. So this isn't going to change anything. This is still RTD and Disney's Doctor Who. This isn't Moffat's. Moffat coming back to write a couple episodes changes absolutely nothing. But the reason I decided to make this video after all those comments and announcements of Stephen Moffat's return are because of current statements made by him about Doctor Who reflecting society and how that shouldn't be the case. Now, a lot of people are taking these comments to say his episode will be good, at least in and of itself, going so far as to say that they will check out his episodes in isolation from the rest of the show because they believe he will make it good, specifically because of these comments. Now, I don't believe that's true. Even before these comments came out, like I said, I didn't think this episode was going to be good whatsoever because of the management that is over Stephen Moffat and the man that Stephen Moffat himself has become in recent years. But there's also the matter of he contradicts his own statements and makes it worse in the quote itself. So people are misunderstanding what he's trying to say. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this doesn't mean Stephen Moffat is the savior of Doctor Who. In fact, it says he agrees with everything that is going on at Doctor Who currently. So let's jump into it. It all starts out with this statement where Stephen Moffat said, "It's foolish to think Doctor Who's job is to reflect society." Now, in and of itself, that is a great comment, a little hypocritical because in his later era with Peter Capaldi, he definitely tried to reflect society. Now, was that studio interference from the BBC? Most likely, but it is something that he did. Let's get into his actual comments here to see what explanation he has for this. He said, "I don't know. I think you're slightly foolish to think your job is to reflect society. I don't think it really is. I know people always say it is, but why?" In and of itself, great statement there. Writing in general should not be about reflecting society. It is about entertainment and escapism. Now, I believe the term escapism, entertainment, has been thoroughly warped and diluted over the last few years. It does not mean turn your brain off Michael Bay action type films, at least not solely. It can also be thought provoking films like Inception. Escapist entertainment merely and entirely means escaping your life to think about something besides yourself, and that includes society. That's on an individual level and a societal level. Of course, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be film and television that makes sense to be rooted in current society and current society problems, but something like Doctor Who should be entirely separate of that. It is pure escapism. It is the idea that this wonderful, magical man can whisk you off into adventures that you could never possibly imagine through space and time. How much of modern day society would be involved in a trip through all of space and time? It really shouldn't. So I love those comments there. Again, a little hypocritical considering how he didn't reflect this statement in his later run of Peter Capaldi's era and in some of the other work he's done in recent years. He goes on to say, do you want your television just to broadcast agreement at your face? Yes, you're right about everything. Here's your world. I don't think you ever. You just try to tell exciting stories. And that is, again, a good statement there. You just try to tell exciting stories. And there are a lot of people who agree with the politics being driven down the throat of audiences by the last few years of Doctor Who, yet they still are against what Doctor Who is doing, because that's not the point. You don't want to just have broadcast agreement in your face, or if you're on the other side of things where you disagree, you don't want that blasted in your face either. Doctor Who is about telling exciting stories and being escapist entertainment. So whether or not you agree with the extreme politics being shoveled down your throat by Doctor Who in recent years, it is not the intention of Doctor Who to preach to its audience or to reflect society. It is to escape from it. So up until this point, 100% agree with him and wish RTD would come to understand that, or at least the man he is today come to understand that, so that he can make good Doctor Who that is not about reflecting today's society or today's societal issues such as gay rights and whatnot. It is in this next sentence here that Stephen Moffat undoes everything that he said previously and firmly cements that he agrees with what is going on in the RTD2 era. He says, Doctor Who is very much Doctor Who, and I can assure you, having read quite a few of the news stories, that's still that show. You don't need to look past the new trailer and every comment made by Russell T Davies and everyone else working on the production of Doctor Who coming up, that it is still a very politically driven, society reflection driven show. Everything that they release is, oh my god, we got new diversity. Oh my god, we're going to be talking about this current day issue. We're going to be talking about this current day issue. We're going to be talking about this current day issue, as so much of the Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall run did as well. So he's either being manipulative, playing some kind of 4D chess, trying to trick some hesitant audience members into still watching the show, promising, hey, we were never politically or socially driven. We just want to tell good stories. Or he's being willfully ignorant and slightly earnest in his statement, saying, yeah, we don't want to be politically driven or society reflection driven. We're just trying to tell exciting stories, and yet being ignorant of the fact that that is not the truth. So there's a few different things to read into these comments. Is he being willfully ignorant? Perhaps even earnest in his statements here, or is he being manipulative to the audience? I don't see either perspective as being particularly positive or hopeful for the future of Doctor Who or his writing in general in other franchises and series. I tend to lean towards more he might be a little bit ignorant of the situation or lying for a benefit other than malicious manipulation. I don't believe he is that type of person. Now, if this were Chris Chibnall or RTD2, I would believe that there would be some malice and manipulation in his statements, but Stephen Moffat I don't think is quite to that point yet, but it's entirely possible that he is entirely being driven by malice and manipulation of the fan base. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. What is the purpose of his statement here? Is he trying to manipulate? Is he being ignorant? Why is he saying this that directly contradicts his own statements and directly contradicts the reality of current day Doctor Who? So this firmly cements my belief that his episode of Doctor Who and the future of Doctor Who in general will not change. It will not improve in any way, shape, or form. It will continue to be politically driven crap that is made to reflect society and not to inspire, not to imagine, not to escape your own life, not to dream of a better life. That is what Doctor Who should be, and it hasn't been that in a very long time, and doesn't look like that is ever going to change. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.